Hey, Brian.
Hey, John.
How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. What's up?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I feel like I'm ready to be a bull in a china shop.
Yeah? Are you full of rage?
I am full of rage.
Why is that?
I'm gonna go with the fact that we watched Raging Bull,
The classic 1980 film by Martin Scorsese.
Absolutely. And speaking of films, by the way, welcome to the Casual Movie Club.
The Casual Movie Club is the podcast where John and I watch a movie off of the IMDb top 250 list of top-rated movies, and we kind of review them, and then we rate them for your listening pleasure.
That's right. And, we keep it casual, so we just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And I want to start out by saying, in this episode, that the opinions that we express, and I'm sure you would agree with this, the opinions that we express are not in any way derogatory towards the classicness of this movie and just its place in cinema.
Yeah, this film is highly regarded. It's on several best of lists.
Yeah.
It's on the AFI top 100 best movies of all time. It's on the AFI's top. It's the number one top sports film, the AFI sports film of all time, and it's received numerous accolades.
Did it win Oscars?
It did win Oscars.
I could see that. I could totally see that. But I just want to go on record to say that I fully respect what this film is, and how it was made and everything. That being said, I have to ask you, because I think we may agree on this. Did you enjoy watching it?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So I've seen most of this film before.
Okay.
But it was long.
Yeah.
It was a struggle to get through.
It really was.
And I think that's not a testament to the, like you were saying, the classicness of the film. I think a lot of these films that we're watching sometimes may be best enjoyed in different environments.
Yeah.
Maybe different times of day even. Yeah. I've had a long day. I can't speak for you,
sure.
But I had a full work day and then came right over and got into, what is this, 3 hours long?
2 hours and 10 minutes, I think.
It felt longer.
It really did. And honestly, a lot like Persona from the last episode, I found myself, and I could almost tell you too, I found myself reaching for my phone. I found myself just wondering, how much longer is this going? Because I am not a fan of movies like this that they're very slow and very drawn out, and that was part of the reason I didn't particularly care for like the Godfather movies, because they're very slow and drawn out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were into the Godfather like that.
I watched the first one, and I want to be clear. I'm not trying to hate on the Godfather, because it's an incredible movie, but it was very slow. It was very slow to sit through, and it's just not my particular cup of tea. Now, that's not to say I don't have any respect for what Francis Ford Coppola has done and the acting and everything. It's an amazing movie for that respect and in that regard. And I feel the same way about Raging Bull, but I don't particularly care for that style of movie. And of course, it was in black and white, which how much I don't enjoy black and white.
Yeah, I get black and white as a artistic choice. For Persona, the film that we watched last week, I could get that sometimes it's a choice that can accentuate the storytelling.
Right.
Just looking at the trivia in IMDb on Raging Bull.
I was reading that during the movie, actually.
Yeah.
But it was I found it interesting, and I have a feeling this might have been what you were going to read, but that he picked black and white so it would differentiate this from Rocky.
Yeah, there's that. And also when he was interviewing Jake LaMotta, or when Robert DeNiro was kind of getting, and Scorsese also, they were kind of interviewing Jake LaMotta, because this film is based off of Jake LaMotta's autobiography.
Yeah.
Jake LaMotta kind of said that that whenever I think back on my life, it just feels like it's in black and white. It doesn't feel like it's in color.
Yeah.
And Scorsese kind of took that, like that was like a throwaway line that Jake put out there.
Yeah.
But Scorsese took that and really did some interesting things with cinematography, with some special effects, and it really added to the film.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great choice. Now, I know how you feel about black and white, but I thought I can't imagine this film being in color. I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, and now that I read that trivia bit about, you know, kind of him intentionally going the black and white route to differentiate it from Rocky. I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched any of the Rocky movies, but this didn't feel like a Rocky movie.
Oh no, not at all.
So I can understand why he went the black and white route, but it still was hard to sit through.
Answer me this. If this were in color, now there was a section in the middle when they were doing home movies where they were kind of doing like time jump forward.
Oh, that was a little carrot dangle. You know, it was like, here's some color footage. Now we're gonna go back to black and white, and I was like, oh.
Well, let me put this to you.
Sure.
If this film were in color, would it feel similar to Rocky? It just like take a minute to kind of process that. Like imagine sitting through this 2.5 hour film. And imagine it in color.
Yeah.
Would it feel more similar to the Sylvester Stallone story?
You know, I don't know, and the reason I say that is it's been so long since I've watched Rocky that I just like I know there was even that Rocky Balboa movie that came out recently.
Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just it's been so long since I've seen Rocky, so I can't say for sure. I would say probably not, because I think there was still that sort of unspoken element or that sort of it factor of how it was made. And you know, if you're so I'm assuming you're saying take the exact movie exactly the way it is but colorize it. Mm-hmm. I think it would still feel unique.
I agree, and the story elements I think are very dissimilar also.
Yeah.
Rocky is the story of an up-and-coming boxer who's trying to make it, who's trying to become a contender, he's trying to get that title fight.
Right.
And that's the focus of the story.
Whereas,
now, well, Jake LaMotta, that is his goal as well, but there's so much more to it than that.
And he's already established.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a guy that's he's lost fights, but he's never been knocked down. He's never been knocked out.
Right.
But they take what makes him good in the ring and they really examine how that affects his relationships outside of the ring. Whereas I think that Rocky doesn't feel as visceral. It doesn't feel as gritty as Raging Bull does.
Yeah.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, the story elements are similar.
Yeah, but they still have their own differences.
Yeah, they do have their own differences, and I think the focus on Jake LaMotta's relationships outside the ring and how his anger issues kind of tear everything down around him.
Oh man,
it's just really, really interesting. Really very different from Rocky.
Yeah, and I remember you mentioning at one point during one of the sort of domestic violence scenes,
which there are many.
Yeah, but how awkward and uncomfortable it is, even just as the spectator of the movie, not even being in the scene or being a part of the reality of it, but watching it. It's so unnerving to see how they speak to their spouses.
Yeah, these guys, they just don't.
It's like they have no respect for their
wives.
Women.
Yeah,
they have no respect for their wives. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a I guess a dinner scene where Robert De Niro is complaining about losing weight because he's got to get ready for this fight, and there's an up-and-coming fighter that he's got to fight, and he's a pretty boy, and his wife makes an offhand comment and was like, oh yeah, he's young, he's up-and-coming, he's good-looking, and he just
I think his wife was the one who said he was good-looking. Like, I don't think neither Jake or what was his wife's name? His brother's name, Joey.
Joey, yeah.
Joey. Neither the two of them had brought up the pretty boy thing, but his wife did.
I thought I heard Joey say it first, and Vicky, Jake LaMotta's wife, parroted that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but
there's so much dialogue.
Oh, and that's the other thing. Their dialogue is at all different volume levels. So, tip for you folks that are going to watch this movie, because I know we talked about Persona and not recommending watching this. I would say watch it. If you like quality cinema and you're a cinephile and you are someone who can appreciate that, it's a good movie.
Are you talking about Raging Bull?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is a must-watch.
But watch it with closed captions.
I would agree with that.
Because there's scenes where, Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci are talking like this. They're really, really quiet. And then the next thing you know, it cuts to a scene in the middle of a wrestling ring in an arena with 10,000 fans, and it's loud. And your thumb is going to be doing volume up and volume down on your remote control through the entire movie.
Yeah, well, one thing that was a good example of this is when Jake is about to go out to, I think, one of his title fights, and he's in the hotel room, he's waiting, he's nervous, and then one of the mob bosses comes up and makes his appearances, and everybody goes over and they say hi to him, say, "Oh, hey, Tommy, good to see you. Oh, yeah. Oh, I just want to say goodbye to you, Tommy, blah, 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 blah." And then Jake goes, "Vicky, come here. Vicky, come here." What the hell was that?
Yeah.
It just yells out of nowhere at the top of his lungs. And I guess that's a testament to how much of a loose cannon Jake is also.
Sure.
But the volume choices in this was just all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, and when we get to our ratings, that's going to be a little point deduction for me on the soundtrack, because and again, there's with these movies, there's the director has all this, technical freedom to do whatever he wants, and he may have done that intentionally to have the viewer drawn in because the dialogue is so quiet, and then all of a sudden just smack you in the face with some loudness. Maybe that was intentional. I don't know. I personally, it was a little bit of a detractor.
Well, there were several times where I was leaning forward trying to get more dialogue, and it kind of drew me into the story more because I'm paying more and more attention, trying to get at what the actors were saying and what they were conveying, the emotions and things like that. But then there were other times where I found myself leaning forward just because the acting was just so intense.
Yeah.
There's a scene where De Niro, Jake LaMotta, is trying to fix his television.
Yeah.
And his brother Joey is sitting on the couch, and they're talking about fixing the TV, and then the conversation goes to something that happened early on in the film, and they were speaking at normal volume. Like, you could clearly understand what they were talking about, but it was, you knew what they were talking about, and there's just, Robert De Niro just projected this thin layer of control, and you could feel just the violence bubbling beneath.
Oh yeah, and I remember exactly the scene you're talking about, and I was waiting for him to just deck Joe Pesci.
Yes. And then Joe Pesci leaves, and then he goes upstairs and talks to his wife, and there's that same, like, I'm in control, but I could fly off the handle at any time, and then he does.
Yeah.
Fucking breaks a door down trying to get to his wife, and then he walks over to his brother's house and beats the shit out of him in front of his children. Yeah. Decks his wife in front of their children.
Yeah, gives her a huge black and blue mark on her chin.
Whew.
Yeah, I mean, talk about domestic violence, but this was domestic violence right in front of his brother's kids.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just
phenomenal acting.
Oh yeah,
really great acting.
Yeah. I mean, that's a given. That's a total given. But
nothing makes me cringe more than just the put downs, the casual put downs of their wives in front of company, in front of children, and then there's the violence in front of children.
Yeah, and this took place in 1941 to 1960?
60-ish, yeah.
Was that the culture back then? Was that the culture where the men were hot shit and the wives were just there, and was it common for men to talk to their wives that way?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. I would imagine that it was not common, but when it was come across, it was brushed under the rug more easily than it would have been today.
Or the wives would have just sat there and been like, "Yeah, that's my Jimmy," or that's just
that's my lot in life.
Yeah,
yeah. So I would love to believe that it wasn't common.
Yeah,
but when it did happen, not much was done about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that's not the case today.
Yeah, I mean,
for sure.
I hope.
Yeah,
one would hope.
You made a really interesting point about how Joe Pesci seems to play the same character in so many movies.
Oh yeah.
I knew that we had to bring that up on when we were recording this because I'm watching Joe Pesci, and especially during that scene when he was out with a couple of the guys and Vicky was there at the Copa.
The Coca Cabana.
That's that's the beers trying to make us mess up the word. The Copacabana. And hold on a second. There we go. So they're out there, and Joe Pesci starts getting heated about something, and he starts wailing on one of the guys at the table. I'm thinking, wait, am I watching Casino in black and white?
Yeah.
Or am I watching Goodfellas in black and white?
Yeah.
Each of those movies have their own plots and everything, but I feel like Joe Pesci is just this, preset.
Yeah. He's
version of the same person with different names.
He's got two modes. He's got flying off the handle, just cursing up a storm.
Yeah.
And then he's got ultra violence.
Yes.
When he was sitting at the bar right there, I think right before the scene where he was beating up Sean or whoever the guy was.
Yeah.
I just that's my cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
That's my cousin Vinny.
Yeah, exactly. And oh man,
I think the only role where he's doubted down to the point where it's like, oh, that's Joe Pesci, but that's not the same Joe Pesci as Casino or Goodfellas. I think was Home Alone.
Yeah.
But then again, he's still Joe Pesci.
Right, but but even in Home Alone, he still has those moments where he's like,
yeah.
And you could see him want to fly off the handle, but he didn't because that wasn't the character he was playing. Yeah. But he totally could have.
Yes.
So
Joe Pesci restrained.
You're right.
Joe Pesci light.
I love Joe Pesci. I absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He's, I think if I had to pick my top 20 actors. Mm-hmm. Or maybe not even top 10 actors that I love watching their stuff in, Joe Pesci's on that list, hands down.
Yeah, Joe Pesci hasn't been in anything bad.
No. Well,
maybe he has.
he may have been in something bad, but he actually...
I haven't seen it.
Right, me neither, but I'm sure it'll come up on this podcast because we got to watch Persona, and then we got to watch, but that was way worse of a movie anyway, but... Joe Pesci did release a CD after My Cousin Vinny came out called Vincent LaGuardia Gambini Sings for You.
I forgot about that.
I had a copy of that when I was a kid.
Oh, man.
It was pretty terrible.
I remember that.
I need to see if I can find it or see if it's available online somewhere because it's a trip. I got to be honest. It's a trip.
One thing I think we should cover before we start doing the numbers is...
see, now you're bringing up the numbers. All right, so it's not just me.
Well, Robert De Niro's weight management. And not just as a boxer, but the actor.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw in the trivia he gained 60 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, he took a tour across Europe and just packed away the pasta, was finishing dinner with milkshakes, and
Wow.
was gained so much weight that he had to take a bunch of breaks while shooting. Like he didn't have the energy to make it through the day the same way that he used to earlier
Wow.
in the film.
Wow.
Yeah, because
I believe it.
So out of energy.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's as someone that's lost that amount of weight, it's so noticeable how much more energy you have when you lose all that weight. So, I remember being a lot heavier and just how much it does bring you down. So I totally believe that.
Yeah. Well, the guy, a part of it, the reasons he won his Oscars, not just the phenomenal acting, was just because of his dedication to the role and going through all that weight loss. He was fit as hell.
Oh yeah, I remember when we first started the movie. I was like, man, Robert De Niro was bulked up.
Yeah. This won De Niro Best Actor in a Leading Role, and this won Best Film Editing also.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, you were mentioning the editing earlier, particularly the scene where De Niro was in the sauna.
Yeah.
I think between matches.
Oh, I loved what they did with the smoke.
Yeah.
Like the steam and stuff. Just really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it was a really nice, I guess, cut or wipe into the next scene using the steam.
Yeah. And even when he was in that prison cell, like how there was those, a couple of different light sources, and how when he sat on the bed, he was right in the middle of that light source, but it was completely black on either side of him. Like, just beautiful, beautiful vision. Beautiful vision. What am I trying to say?
Cinematography.
But Scorsese had such a beautiful creative vision for this, and the capture of it was beautiful. So, shall we do numbers?
Well, let's do the numbers.
All right. So, would you like to start us off, Brian? Acting. So, and just for those that are curious, or those that are first listening, if this is the first episode of the podcast that you're listening to, welcome to the Casual Movie Club. You can go to casualmovieclub.com and click on the leaderboard, and you can see where all of our movies ranked up. And we have the criteria that we go for. We have 6 different criteria. Acting, how well the actors convey the story, how believable were they. The script, how well was the dialogue written, like the quality of the actual screenwriting. The presentation, more of a technical approach here. Editing and visual effects usage, too much visual effects, not enough. Music and sound, pretty much everything about what you hear. So the soundtrack as a whole, the sound effects, score, music, and everything. The uniqueness, has this film been done before? And then also what we're calling now the engagement factor. It used to be the sleep factor. How engaged were you? Were you picking up your phone or checking Twitter during the movie, or were you pulled in? So let's start out with acting. What do you want to say on a scale of 1 to 5? What do you give the acting?
5.
5?
Yeah, they were incredible. The wife in the very beginning, I could, in particular, I thought was telegraphed how Jake LaMotta's attitude and how he would wear someone down to the point where they would just blow up or leave him.
Yeah.
Now, Vicky, his wife, I think it's Catherine Moriarty, I think is the actress's name.
Yeah. You could see her build up to that.
You could see her build up to that. She was phenomenal. And she went through all of those stages. You could see their relationship from the beginning, and just as Jake wore her down with his paranoia, with his violence, eventually she blew up at him the same way that the wife in the beginning did.
Yep.
Joey, his brother, was just heartbreaking. He was so dedicated. There was not a performance that felt out of place. It was classic Scorsese.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to give out my first 5 of the podcast. I haven't done any 5s yet, and I'm also going to give acting a 5.
Yeah, it's
I couldn't think of it having been done any better. So script, or the quality of the writing, I'm going to give that. I'm going to give it a 4. You know, I nothing about it blew me away, but I felt like it was appropriate for what was there, and I felt like it was good. It told the story well.
Mm-hmm. I like this a lot. I'm going to give this a 4.5. It was long. It's arduous, and I've seen most of it before. This was my first time seeing it start to finish here. The dialogue was fantastic. I thought even late in life, Jake LaMotta, when he was the lounge lizard trying to get his stand-up career going as a club owner, all of that stuff, I thought it was just really well put together.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 4.5.
Cool. All right. Presentation. What do you think? So technical approach to the visuals of things, the editing and visual effects.
What would you give the script? What's your rating?
Oh, I gave the script a 4.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm kind of going like me, you,
yeah.
you.
I got mixed up there. We can cut this.
No, we'll leave it in.
The presentation, editing, visual effects. I loved all of that. The things that they did with blood, I thought were really interesting. The blood when they were doing the boxing scenes and Jake was getting hit, or Jake was hitting people most of the time. The things that they did with the sweat, with the blood that was spurting out. I liked all that. It felt real. It felt visceral. So the presentation wasn't really lacking in any respect that I can think of. But I wasn't really blown away by it either. So I'll give this a 4.
Okay. So I'm going to start out with what I really liked. I just loved some of the camera work. You know, I loved the visuals. I loved his use of, space, and perspective. I felt like we were really a part of the action. It was beautifully captured. I loved use of some of the effects, things like the steam when he was in the sauna, the boxing ring, and I also really liked how when LaMotta was getting hit, there were like flashes of white and everything. So it's almost like it almost felt like we were getting hit as well. So I mean, I thought that was beautifully done. So I'm ready to give it a high mark, but it was in black and white, so I give it a 3.5.
Oh, 3.5.
I hate black and white movies. Okay, I'm gonna be a little generous, 3.75, but I'm not even giving it a 4. I don't like black and white.
Fair enough.
Music and sound. Interestingly enough, in one of the trivia things, I saw that the music was there was no original music scored for the film. It was all from.
Oh, really?
It was from an Italian composer who I'm going to try and see if I can find it without babbling too much.
So so all the songs that we heard were songs of the time.
Yes, and hold on a second. Where is it? All right, I'm just trying to find it. I'm looking at the trivia from IMDb here. There's a lot of trivia here. Oh, so here we go. No original music was composed for the film. All of the music was taken from the works of an Italian composer named Pietro Mascagni. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation. Martin Scorsese selected it because it had a quality of sadness to it that he felt fit the mood of the film. Yeah. So, and I thought it was very appropriate. There was nothing about the soundtrack that blew me away. There was nothing that I think detracted from it. So I'm just going to say 3.75.
Yeah. I liked all the music. There's only really one song that stood out for me, and that was the song that was playing in the during the Jake LaMotta date with Vicky early on, and then they went to the Cocobana, and then they had the fight in there. Wasn't blown away by the music. I'll give it a 3.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Uniqueness.
Well, compared to Rocky, and I think that's really the only film of the time that I could compare it to, I would say that this is wholly unique.
Okay.
We discussed earlier the similarities between the trajectories of the characters, and by that I mean each one is the focus of each one is to become a contender and then become a champion, whereas Rocky becomes the contender, he falls short and doesn't become the champion, doesn't win. Jake LaMotta does. I don't think that, like I mentioned earlier, Rocky delves into a lot of the personal life that Raging Bull does. I think Raging Bull is a more unique film than Rocky is. So I'd give Raging Bull a 5.
5
for uniqueness. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say it's a 4, only because it's a boxing movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about something specific. You know, it's not a it's a boxing movie that chronicles the life of a boxer, and I guess maybe I'm just looking at it at a more of a big picture type of thing. I'm not kind of dialing it in as much as you are. So, you know, I'm going to say it's not entirely unique, but I'm going to say it's unique enough to that it's not the same as other things out there, if that makes sense.
Can you expand on that? The reason I ask you to do that is because this film is about a boxer,
right?
Whereas, let's say,
so is Rocky, but then I'm sure there's got to be other boxing films out there. Plus, there were 6 Rocky movies.
Well, let's move away from boxing, though.
Okay.
Let's talk about Saving Private Ryan. It's a film about soldiers.
Sure.
There are a bunch of other movies about soldiers. All Quiet on the Western Front.
Well, right, but there was Saving Private Ryan and The Thin Red Line.
Sure.
Which are both movies about soldiers and both movies about soldiers trying to go rescue somebody, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not entirely unique, but they have their own uniqueness to them because they have some plot uniqueness.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'm not going to say that, like, I would not give Raging Bull a 5 unless there were no other boxing movies that chronicle the life of a boxer. You know, if this was the only movie, like, I would give it a perfect 5 if there were no other boxer movies that chronicle the life of a boxer.
I would argue that this movie better encapsulates the life of a boxer than
Sure.
other boxing films, and that makes it more unique.
Okay, that's cool. So now comes to the one I think we may get some hate mail on.
What's that?
The engagement factor.
Oh, right. I thought we got them all.
I'm gonna go first.
Go first.
The engagement factor, I'm going to say that there are a few times in this movie that I was genuinely engaged and I was genuinely enjoying what I was seeing and I was wanting to know where things were going to go, but they were very few and far between in this 2-hour and 10-minute movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my phone for probably a quarter of it. You know, responding to texts. I was listening to the movie when I could hear it, of course. You know, so I was not as engaged as I would have liked to have been because of how well this movie is made and how good this movie is. It did not pull me in as much as I was expecting it to. So for that, I give it a 2.
2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
Generous or
That's not generous. No.
Well, I mean, it's me being honest because, you know, and again, for those that are getting ready to like send the boys after me, I have nothing but respect for Martin Scorsese and everyone involved with the movie and the quality of what the movie is and the product that they made, I have nothing but respect for. I personally was not engaged. I was not engaged enough.
Yeah. Well, that's a shame. I was engaged. Now, I've seen most of the film previously, so I knew what to expect.
Yeah, and this is my first time seeing it, by the way. I should mention that.
Yeah. For the most part, I knew some of the major beats of the film. This is my first time all the way through, start to finish, though. And it didn't hold me 100%. But I was engaged for a majority of the film. And because of that, I would give this a 4.
Really?
I give it a 4.
That seems very generous.
Well, and in other circumstances, and I think I would have been more engaged.
I'm going to challenge you because there were a few times, like you asked me a few times, how much longer is this movie?
No, really. This was a long film. This was a difficult film to get through because of the circumstances in which we watched it.
Yeah. So you're thinking under different circumstances you'd be able to sit through the whole thing and be more and be equally as engaged or more engaged.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely. So there's a difference between watching the movie in a theater,
sure,
versus.
I'm sorry, I don't have a home theater. Just kidding.
That's not a knock. None of these statements are a knock on you.
I'm kidding.
I know.
I'm sorry I don't have a man cave with like a 90-inch screen and surround sound. I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's next season.
Yeah, exactly. That's tune in. Not tune in next week. That's Casual Movie Club season 2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that. There's a difference between watching the movie fresh versus watching it in a theater versus watching it with a large group of people. I may not have been as engaged if there were more people with us.
Sure.
It's just I think based off of this movie experience, and considering if I were to watch it again. Under different circumstances, I might be less engaged. I might be more engaged. So based off of that, I think a fair happy medium is 4.
You're sticking with that?
I'm standing by it.
All right. So based on the numbers here, you definitely liked this movie more than I did.
I loved it.
So total averages here, acting is a 5. It's a perfect.
Yeah.
Between the two of us. Script is a 4.25. Presentation is a 3.88. Music and sound is a 3.38. Uniqueness is a 4.5. And sleep factor or engagement factor is a 3. So giving our total score of Raging Bull to an even 4. And that I'm loading our leaderboard, and by the way, unrelated thing, our website performance should be better.
Yes.
I've done some tweaking, and hopefully things will be a little better. So with Raging Bull coming in at number 4, that's going to put it just below The Wrestler and above Dennis the Menace.
I think that's appropriate.
I agree.
I feel that's very appropriate spot for it.
I agree. I definitely agree. So I think that's I feel good about that.
Yeah. I feel really good about it. I think we have one more thing to do.
We got to pick the next movie.
We've got to pick the next movie.
Let's
pick that next movie.
Right, so we got to pick the next movie. And we're going to pick the next movie, right?
We're going to pick the next movie!
That's right. All right, let me call up the Googles, and let's do a random number between 1 and 250. All right, 212.
All right, scroll. That comes out to, it's The Princess Bride.
Oh, man, that is such an awesome movie. I love that movie.
It's The Princess Bride.
I absolutely love that.
Oh, shit.
Shall we do that one?
We shall do The Princess Bride. Yes.
I was hoping you were going to say "As You Wish."
Oh, as you wish. Oh shit. Yes. As you wish.
But wait. Peter Falk says when he's doing it, when he's reading the book to the little kid, like
What Wesley really meant was when he said "as you wish," he meant "I love you."
So I guess if you were to say that to me and be like, "Yo, I love you," but I guess I'm making it weird, aren't I?
That's a little weird. That's all right.
It's the beer talking.
For those who don't know, The Princess Bride is a 1987 fantasy adventure film
with comedic elements.
A
in it.
lot of comedic elements.
It's very quotable.
Yes, it's probably one of the most quotable films.
To not quote this movie would be inconceivable.
While home sick in bed, a young boy's grandfather reads him a story called The Princess Bride.
By S. Morgenstern.
I can't wait.
I am so excited to watch this.
This is next week's film, right? We're not taking a week off?
Correct.
All right. Yeah, we'll be back next week to...
Right. So you better tune in next week.
to watch The Princess Bride.
Right. And if you want to get some more Casual Movie Club goodness, you can go to casualmovieclub.com to get the links to where you can stream our goodness. Places like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and somewhere else. I'm forgetting it, but we're up there. Go to casualmovieclub.com. You can go to us on Twitter, Casual Movie Club, and Instagram at Casual Movie Club as well.
You can also give us a call and leave us a voicemail. You can reach us at 402-882-2742. Leave us a voicemail. We may air it on air.
Absolutely. We may play it on the air. You can send us an email, casualmovieclub at hotmail.com, and that is hot, M-A-I-L, for those of you that are curious, even though we are two hot males, spelled a different way.
Dangly parts.
That's totally the beer talking. But it might be kind of fun. Should we could like drink different beer every time?
So, you will never get a complaint from me.
Right. So in this episode, we were drinking Tecate, which is a Mexican beer.
Yeah. Totally not related to any aspect of Raging Bull.
Not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even think Jake LaMotta drinks.
He drank at the end. He didn't drink while he was training because he had to keep his mind sharp. And
makes sense.
Yeah. When he was the lounge lizard, he was drinking and smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But until next time, keep it casual.
Keep it casual. And if you like what we have here, please feel free to share it amongst your friends. Because the Casual Movie Club is a giant boxing ring in which all are welcome. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.